Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this week's 100 Women to Watch panel. We are talking about the data of devotion, how we measure the ROI of feminine leadership. Now, let's take this into context, right? Today's environment, we tend to prioritize things like prizes, like metrics, maybe dashboards and bottom lines. However, many women leaders know that there's another kind of intelligence that's shaping outcomes. Things like that we engage with every day, like intuition, empathy, maybe even relational awareness and emotional truths. These qualities are often labeled as soft, yet they are quietly driving innovation, retention, resilience, and long-term success. Go figure. Today's conversation, we're going to explore how feminine leadership is redefining what results actually mean. We are looking at how connection becomes strategy, how care can become culture, and also how devotion can, to people and to purpose, really create impact that spreadsheets alone cannot capture. So today's panel is an invitation to really expand our definition of what ROI means, and also to recognize that consciousness, compassion, and intuition are not distractions from leadership. They're actually becoming the most powerful assets. So let's begin. And I'm just going to put this question out here. If someone on this panel could share a moment when leading with empathy or intuition just felt really risky, but maybe ultimately it actually created a result that a spreadsheet couldn't have predicted.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Dr. Nikita Renthigpen, for all those that are joining us from across Kai's globe. For me, I want to say it was in the earlier years of business. We started our company in 2011, so maybe in the first couple of years, I had this thought that I had to lead with more masculine energy, with more specificity and how I was speaking to a group of people. Specifically, I was leading a workshop. I think it was like conflict resolution or one of the, the main staples that companies would pay you for, 10, 15 years ago to come in and do. And I really, really, truly felt an urge to share my story. But, how I got into it, why I'm here, why they should listen to me, like all of the things as a clinician, a trauma specialist, whatever. But because I've seen such really hard things happen, I was worried about maybe overstimulating some of the people in the room instead of looking at it as a way to connect with them and create some emotional stickiness in it. So I did it. I went for it and I shared. It was relevant to the narratives of what we were talking about. And so many people melted in a good way. They opened up and stopped posturing in the audience. They're at work, so you have this like buttoned up, I don't really want to be here, they're making me be here. This is the lunch and learn that I have to attend, today. And the conversations flowed so much that they ended up booking us for like another 12 sessions. We ended up doing like this whole cohort style that was new to me in this realm of entrepreneurship in the way that I was doing it, which was very different than the therapeutic systems that I came from as a trauma specialist and a clinician at the time. And it broke me open. It made me realize that people, yes, they need the information that they paid you to come get, but they also want to be awakened. And I don't mean it in a woke way, but like the trendy way. They wanted to be awakened with something that pulled them out of this kind of stoic, busy, stay on the roller coaster way and really saw the person inside the professional. And that changed everything for me and for our company, quite honestly.
It's the human connection piece. That was what you drew out by first demonstrating that you, even as the person who was leading the entire session in the workshop, that you were facilitating, but you were willing to basically break open and be human. Yeah. And say, look, this is me in my humanity, not perfect. We're not aiming for perfect, we're aiming for connection. And
Yeah.
that gave everybody else permission. And I think that is something that we definitely do better than a lot of the very typical corporate, very structured, HR compliant kind of things. I'll give one example. I did a talk, and it was about standing in the fire, right? How to have difficult conversations.
Yeah.
And Intel loved it. They brought me in to do, a company-wide training type thing, except that I spoke the truth, which is that you have a lot of neurodivergent people in engineering, and that rather than just assume bad intentions all around, I used to have engineer guy friends, and one time one of them said, "Oh, your boobs look so good in that sweater." Now, I took it in the spirit with which it was intended, which is my tits looked great.
Great.
Yeah.
Right.
And I said, "Thank you so much. Oh my God, don't they? I love this one. It looks so good." Now, you really can't say that to anybody else.
Mhm.
So I correct in the moment
Yeah.
because their EQ is off. There was no bad intention. It was not harassment. This is my friend who was saying something and I was helping them. Because I said that and basically gave a pass to that comment, even though I took it how it was intended, which was
Yeah.
as a compliment. They literally deleted the whole thing because they're too buttoned up. I'm like, can we not just understand that people have different methods of communicating, especially now that we have a lot more neurodivergence exposed in the industry and in the workplace, and rather than having to be quote unquote accommodating, I feel like we just need to be a little bit more understanding contextually.
I love that.
And I have an Aspie kid too. I am an Aspie, but I also have an Aspie kid. So I speak neurodivergent like fluently.
Mel?
I'm smiling and just like really leaning in and drinking this in because there's what I call the choice of the voice. There's a choice of, and a lot of people are in love with the word authenticity. I'm a little allergic to it, also certified in trust. I think our genuine core is what needs to show up. And sometimes genuine means we're using different language than we would. Sometimes we're using a different style in correctly sensing and identifying whether it's through intuition or picking up the energy that's in the environment. But I really love what you're saying from the transparency perspective. We don't always give in leadership, we're not always given the permission. We don't always give ourselves the permission to show up with what I call the choice of the voice. We follow the agenda. We stay within the lines.
Okay.
We don't
staying within the lines. Do you think staying in the lines is going to get you the best ROI? That's going to get you the most innovation out of your people? You just brought it up, Melanie. Staying in the lines. You are literally putting yourself in the box and decorating it. And I always tell everybody, burn the damn box. Just burn it.
I say break the box. Break the box.
I am definitely not in a box, as Kai will tell you. And I'm also, besides being allergic to authenticity, I'm allergic to ROI. I'm the former finance major. So I called it years ago return on energies and engagement.
Yeah.
Now in today's times, I'm calling it return on sage energies or return on sustainable energies. Sage is, Adrian mentioned EQ before.
Yeah.
Positive intelligence has sage superpowers to it. And I think dipping into both worlds, that world of our saboteurs, the narratives that we call ourselves, I always colored outside of the lines. I just didn't identify it and I didn't acknowledge it until
as
someone
a superpower
leader.
As a superpower, because literally, okay, think about it this way. How many people go through their entire education process and they learn to the test and they learn to behave and they show up and they sit quietly and their booties don't scoot off the chair and they're not boisterous and interruptive and they do exactly as they are told and they are compliant and they are concrete and they execute with precision exactly as instructed. Is that person ever going to invent Apple? Is that person ever going to do something so extraordinary that their name ends up in the history books? Probably not. It is the crazy ones, right? It is the ones who color outside the lines, the ones who think differently those are actually the ones that you need to nurture. But just like I was nurturing that engineer who went on to, he's a billionaire now. But literally the one who was commenting on my boobs, I understood exactly what he meant. Now, had HR fired him over that, that would have been a problem.
Yeah.
They would have lost on that. And I do actually like ROI. I do counter that. I like the idea of investment, but investment, not just money, right? Because you have effort, you have attention, you have a lot of different things, right? So I wrote a thing called Fanthropology. It was the art and science of fan engagement and ROI, right? The whole idea is when you have social media, it was early social media, my reach was like 119 million. And the whole idea was, how do you figure out if posting 10 times a day manually, by the way, everything manually, doing these things on these different platforms, that level of engagement, attention, and time, was that generating some ROI? And it was. But figuring that out and then convincing enterprise clients to do the same, but they don't have the same rules, right? See, I don't have rules. I have no box. I own my words. I own my actions. If it's posted on my account, I did it. I wrote it. I posted it. I may use automation to write it and schedule it, but I wrote it.
Yeah.
That is. So those are my promises.
You've added in the human, but what I hear is, Adrienne, you're saying what Mel is saying. You guys just have different labels for it. The investment, which I connect to investment for so many reasons, like, thank you for investing in yourself with Big Pro, right? Like, that's how we sign every engagement letter and, invoice that we send out. But the way I define investment is the way Melanie, excuse me, because I didn't already gave you a nickname. Yeah, I didn't put you in the friend zone already. Miss Melanie, the way that I heard you saying it, even when you use SAGE over sustainability, even though I know you can play in both worlds, as you were breaking down what the newer version of ROI means for you, you're saying what Adrienne is saying. You guys just have different contextual aesthetics for it. Yours is red, hers is blue, but it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. And here's the other important piece, right? You don't want people who speak all the same language, because when Melanie and I are literally saying the same thing, we're doubling the audience. She's saying it one way, it's going to attract one audience. I'm saying it another way, it's going to attract another audience. We completely 1000% fervently agree. 100%. We're saying the same thing. And she said SAGE, and that ticked in my mind. I just took the feminine quotient, something about your leadership style, which I know I've taken my Myers-Briggs and all those other ones, but because I majored in psychology originally, but I'm a SAGE. And I was like, oh, I've matured. I'm no longer the cheerleader. I mean, like, if you saw my thing, I'm a inspirer, dominator, stabilizer, controller. So I'm like, let's go to the party. Oh my God, we're going to have so much fun. Right. And then I'm a dominator. Oh, you don't want to go to the party? We're going to the party. You really don't have a choice about that. Boom, steamroller. Then I'm a stabilizer. I promise you really will have a good time. Just trust me. And then, so I'm a 99I, a 98D, a 96S, and a 10C. So I am not the bean counter. I want an accountant. Yes, I can read spreadsheets, but I read them like a forensic accountant to go find where somebody stole all the money. That part I'm good at. But being the controller, no, that is not my thing. I outsource that. I dive through people's books, and as a polymath, so that means I can multi-threaded connect everything. I am so good at pattern recognition and spotting where they stole all the money. So these are the kinds of things that women do differently than men, because that connecting the dots is very intuition based, right?
Incredible. So, like, to your point, right, Adrienne, when have you seen that, like, care and connection or even psychological safety, like, really translate into stronger performance or innovation or sustainability? Like, it seems like sometimes we're overlooking something, and I'm hoping that we can connect those dots here.
Well, I will tell you, my mom always tells me that I inspire my assistants so much that they go off to start their own businesses, and then I have to hire another assistant. And that is literally because I see the greatness in them. And this is the thing that we need to lean into as leaders. I see their potential. I can also see their roadblocks. And with permission, I will literally be brutally honest and say, here's what I see you doing. Do you want to explore how this is going to hinder you? Because we could remove that in about 5 minutes. And then I'll do the woo-woo thing. And I'm not woo-woo. I'm Irish. So I have woo. It's genetic, but I'm not woo-woo, right? I did spend 10 years on the motivational speaking circuit. I got a bunch of tools in my toolbox. Plus I'm Irish, that little fairy business. So Tinkerbell, I'm just going to fairy dust all over everybody. I'm going to make everybody super, super happy. That's what I did as a movie producer. My job ended the minute we started filming. So my job while filming, I was a fluffer. I made sure we had food. Everybody was happy. I'm making guac, almost cut my finger off, had to go to the hospital, went to the hospital and traded my finger participating in a wound care study, which I kept my finger, but it was touch and go, for a hospital set that increased our value of our production by, a good couple $100,000. So you just gotta just go. Like, just
I'm cracking up at you for so many reasons, like energy, love, all of it. Don't worry, you've met woo-woo sisters right here, because I'm probably the most woo-woo you'll get. And I can, pencil skirt it and heels and do all the thing and be more logistical, but woo-woo is where I live. Like, that is my center. And what you were asking, Kai, around the psychological safety and the kind of the hidden metrics that a lot of organizations are not really looking at it. I have a term for it that I call relational load, which in my, I didn't make up the term. It's, it came from all of the thousands of studies, psychology, sociology, anthropology, clinical social work, blah, 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 all the things. Somewhere in there, that term came up. But as always, my maiden name is Webster, so I feel like I have the right to give things definitions. Even though I'm not related to Webster Dictionary, I just feel like it gives me that entitled right.
Yes.
Right?
I second that. You are legitimately correct in that opinion.
Exactly. And I make up words and definitions all the time, and people vibe with it, right? Like,
yes,
to Adrian's
because
point,
they're good words.
Know what we're talking about. Exactly. Well, for the version of relational load that I sit with, it's a cumulative stress in your nervous system, your thoughts, and your relationships that you're walking around with, and it's hindering your performance. Which of course is hindering your profitability if you happen to need that performance to help make you money or help make the company money. It obviously hinders your partnerships, and this is at home and at work. This isn't just one place. So when you have relational load issues around boundaries with someone, and we'll keep it focused on corporate since that's kind of the core of where we are for this particular panel. If I have a really hard time just being in the energetic, like physical energetic space with Susie, Dave, and Donovan, it's going to be really hard for me to be innovative, to be creative.
Impossible.
Right?
Impossible.
It's going to be so hard. Now, because we're women and we deserve Olympic platinum medals, if there is such a thing, for compartmentalizing, right? Because we can do it. I'm sure I'm going to pull something up out of here to, gift to the solution that we're trying to create, but it's not going to be my best. It might be 20% of what I could have done. Now, maybe my 20% was all that was necessary because we're brilliant, right? We don't always need to bring 100% because the 20% was good enough. Mm-hmm. But if I really didn't have that energetic issue that I was storing in my body and my nervous system, my thoughts, and my relational interaction with the Susie, Donovan, and whatever hypothetical name I made up earlier, if I didn't have that, because we have this drift that's going on, this promise drift. I promised XYZ leader or partner or peer that I would sit with these folks and have this meeting, but I promised something that wasn't aligned to my intuition. I knew that these were not the people that I needed to be in project mode with for this particular thing. But because I overrode a boundary and I said yes to something that I know I should have said no to, something that I should have at least said, we got to work out some things before we can go into that project or try to create solutions, because I have real issues. It's not just a vibe that was wrong with Susie, Donovan, and whoever. It's something tangible. Maybe I'm Black woman. Maybe there was a microaggression that I haven't spoken to. Maybe there was an aggression that I haven't spoken to. Maybe there was something else that they've done, or they took credit for something and I didn't acknowledge it, but it sat with me. Like whatever the hypothetical real things that people are actually dealing with that's going on, it has to be dealt with, because otherwise that load is weighing me down and it's costing all of us money.
You know, you bring up something really, really important. And you were talking about microaggressions and you were talking about those things, but I think there's something that's literally the elephant in the room that nobody brings up. Nobody brings up. Okay.
I know, right?
Congruent core values.
Yeah.
Where you are literally forced into a project with someone who believes that the ultimate goal is creating shareholder value, regardless of customer experience, regardless of employee health and wellness or anything like that, where literally the driving force is antithetical and it literally goes against your soul. And I want to give everyone permission. I think this is extremely important. You were talking about boundaries. I hit 50 and I magically lost all my fucks. I was out. I had no more fucks to give. They were like, it was amazing. The level of stress that I was experiencing just went whoosh, because all of a sudden I was like, oh, okay. So not only did I take the mask off that my son said I had super glued to my fucking face of normal, right? I had my normie mask over my aspy self, super glued to my face for decades, okay? I took it off and I said, fuck it. I'm going to speak the truth. And when something is not in alignment, I can politely, if I've had enough coffee, if I haven't had enough coffee, it's just going to come out. Because coffee is my ADHD medicine. I'm that too. I will politely decline and say, you know what, that like I just did this. I was asked by a political candidate to help him take out the current incumbent. And the way that he was going to do it, I felt was so horrifically unethical. And this is somebody that I've known. We were both Bernie delegates. Before that, I was a Ron Paul. Then I was a Maha. Like I'm for each individual person. I do not belong to a political party. I do not claim a persuasion. I am a sensible middle, just like 70% of the rest of the country. So this person wanted me to
70% of which country?
The United States.
Really? So I love what you're saying.
We're the sensible middle. We're fiscally conservative, meaning we don't like people stealing our tax money.
I'm not so sure we're always sensible. No. But I mean, from the perspective of what Dr. Nikita, and you could always call me Mel. From the perspective of microaggressions, and specifically microaggressions in this date, place, and time. Yes. We're in a world right now where there's a lot that's not in balance. And I love that you mentioned values, but I really think it's cultural. And we carry a culture with us. Yes. Kind of like those invisible bags, those invisible scorecards that are tucked away that people never see. We carry them every day in an organization. Yeah, I carried them for 13 years until I bought the book, The Art of Quitting. And the week I realized they were about to let me go, I celebrated, packed, and celebrated with 2 bottles of champagne before I went to Tahiti. I think the thing is there's a reset in there. And I think within the values system, there's personal values, there's professional values, there's organizational values, there's behavioral values. I really think culturally, we're missing cultures of awareness, cultures of respect, cultures of trust, cultures that build strong, emerging, and aspiring leaders that really respect everybody else's voices, where there's a seat at the table for everybody. And I think that part of the data is never measured.
Yeah.
I'm going to challenge you on that, because here's the data that I know. And I'm a venture capitalist. Okay. So this is my concrete, absolute proven data. Black girl magic fucking exists. And the VCs out there, the only giving them less than 1% of venture funding are fucking idiots. Pardon my language. I have watched these women just make magic out of nothing, create community that cost nothing, that then drove virality, that drove huge bottom line. That I'm constantly impressed. I am definitely female founder focused. That's my spoken bias, absolutely. But I will tell you, there is a missing piece. And if VCs want to overcome this next kind of AI piece that's going to shift some things around, they should just take 15% of their allocations and just put it into Black female founders. Problem solved. Now, when you were talking about the carrying the baggage, I do want to make an observation and a story. So when I was getting divorced or contemplating getting divorced, I had all of this, because we compartmentalize. We were talking about that compartmentalization. It's like a trash compactor.
That
right?
Olympic platinum medal that we all get. Mm-hmm.
So I was stuffing down my truth, literally, like the things I don't want to admit, the things that I personally have responsibility for that I am not acknowledging, like all the things until it was like, and I was drowning on the edge of tears every single moment. Everything was triggering me. I was highly combustible and very upset. So a woman I was in eWomen with, she's a woo-woo. Now remember, I'm not woo-woo, but I trusted her and I'd known her for a long time. And I'm like, I'm drowning. I'm going to let her. Right. So I go to her office and she takes this heavy bag, a boxing bag, turns it on its side, put it on a chair, and then takes these 2 lengths of hose, like garden hose, but super industrial strength. So when you hold it, it's like a stick, right? So then she has me physically raise my hands up and smack it. It sounds like you're beating the crap out of somebody. And for some reason, that's really cathartic in the moment. It's just the craziest thing that just triggers release in the back of your head. And all of a sudden, the things that you've stuffed down, it's like, whoop, it just all comes out and you speak your truth and you're emptying and unburdening while you're smacking the heck out of it. Yeah. And I cannot tell you what that combination does, but it is, you're not breathing. They call it breath work. It's not breath work. It's literally like
that's neurobiology. Like you were doing what you needed to do somatically to get that out. Yeah.
But that's what I think we're missing, especially in the workplace and especially for women who feel slighted. And I'm telling you that there is a way to do that kind of work where you are releasing whatever it is, the resentment, the baggage, the this, the that, out of the body. And then when you come back to a certain situation, it is with a different context and a different perspective. And sometimes that makes all the difference. And I always tell everyone, look, I mean, I was thrown into trash cans head first in high school. So people look at me and they're like, you have privilege. I'm like, I have pretty privilege, but that's new. I was not pretty in high school. I did not have pretty privilege in high school because I was tortured. I was less than a bleacher creature and thrown in trash cans head first. And the only time that I was ever respected was when I was a cheerleader because I was the best in the school. And even the people who hated me would begrudgingly admit that. So, find what lights your fire, but also know that you can change how people perceive you by how you present. So I was in high school. I dropped out of high school. I went to college. I told everybody I was fabulous. I told everybody I was smart. They didn't know any better. So they just believed me. And then I lived up to it and boom, done.
I love that you've named, the thing, right? It like that it was suppression. When we name things, we start to gain some kind of power over it. I'm also curious how else we can name, maybe Nikita and Mel, you can talk about a time where you were actually asked to do something like suppress this EQ, this intuition. Like, what was that situation like for you, and how did you overcome it?
Whew, Mel, you want to take this one? Because I
will.
Have so many.
I will. And may he rest in peace, my former employer. The day that he challenged my center, my core, my love for my family, I was the workaholic with the 2 bonuses who carried every bit of the back end, the front end, the side end. And one day I got a call that somebody I loved who one of my very first mentors at a core that there was nothing they could do for her medically at Sloan Kettering. It was a Friday. I got the call at 9:45. On Fridays, I would go and have lunch with her. And that Friday, I decided I had started working at about 8 o'clock that morning. And I knew at 9:38, I put my pocketbook on my shoulder and I went to let my boss know that my workday was over. And what I cracked up at was he couldn't process the conversation through the language or the filter.
Yeah.
And he says, "You have work to do." I said, "Yes, it'll still be here when I get back." And he challenged, I really appreciated it because he challenged me at my very core on like the deepest soul level. I said, "You have a lack of respect for other humans, for our emotions, for our growth, for what we care about." I said, "Out of courtesy, I'm here to let you know I'm about to leave for today. Can be sick day, can be personal day, can be whatever in the world you want to call it day. But I want to wish you a peaceful weekend. And I want to ask you to hold space and pray for my family." I remember my colleagues outside. I left the door open. I did not close the door. And that was not something that I ever did. But I knew I needed the early exit.
Yeah.
I knew this was the guy who, when I was on vacation, had dented the file cabinet. I asked someone how the week was. He had kicked the file cabinet and left a hole in it. And as I left, I saw that file cabinet, and I decided that day I was no longer going to be the file cabinet. At some point, your devotion to yourself, to what you believe in, from a perspective of leadership, or from, call it masculine, call it feminine, call it whatever you like, you need to tap into your core. And I love that Dr. Nikita put blind spot density in before in the chat. I'd love to hear some more about that before we go.
Yeah, it's actually what you were describing when you were talking about the personal barriers. And actually, Adrienne used this word too, triggers that come up. It's those hidden ones that no one else outside of you, maybe your forever lover person, might have some insight that it's not as hidden as you thought you had it on a day-to-day, but let's ignore that for a moment, because I will go into the bedroom really, really fast. I'm trying to stay in the boardroom with you guys here.
I majored in sex ed and had a naughty dating app for good girls that gets women laid. So I constantly live in the bedroom. Just so you know, like we're always going to go there. And come on, like, can we talk about being a holistic person without that?
All day. Kai knows we used to, we don't say it as much up front, but we would lead with amplify intimacy from the bedroom to the boardroom, because it's all relationships, right? It's all intimacy.
But it's
sometimes including sex, but exactly not always the physical.
And because it's not other people, it's all internal. And what I want to say about what you were talking about, knowing yourself and your core, I think that is the most important thing, because I do see a lot of people, this is going to come off so bad, but they appear like entitled mockingbirds. And when they're establishing their boundaries, I see nothing there. And remember, like those of us who really have done the work, we can see when this is, they're fully integrated. This is exactly, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so if somebody is establishing a boundary and it is literally like, this is their core boundary, that is to be respected. If someone is doing it because they want to cut in line, that's not, you know what I mean?
It's the posturing. And posturing is
imposturing.
Exactly. Posturing
is new words. Imposturing.
Yeah. You're related to Webster. Somewhere in there. You're making up words. I like it.
I make up words all the time. But that was what I was trying to say is like, for me, the core thing, and especially in feminine leadership, and keep in mind, I hate the feminine thing. And I normally don't ever do things that are women, because, you know, the men look at me like an asset class, not a woman. And a lot of times I feel that the women things, they come off a little whiny, but this does not. Like, this is like, this is like the high level, like until you're operating in this level of leadership type stuff, you're not even getting these conversations. And it's so important for women to have them. Yeah. And I forgot where I was going with this, but you were talking about the I forgot.
When we talk, I think so. Melanie asked about the bone density, which I was saying you pretty much defined it when you were talking about, hidden problems and barriers that are ultimately triggers that impact your ability to make decisions. There's a decision drag that comes up, which is the density part. You're not operating optimally, if you can say that 5 times fast. It's really hard to do when you have all of these other things. And some of it, Melanie, you pointed out, was cultural. There is, Adrienne used a quick example. I want to be mindful of our time of, if you perceive yourself different and you show up different than maybe how other people had known you, then you'll be respected as such. And although that has some truthfulness in it, like an ingredient inside of a cake, it's not the whole cake when there's
not the whole cake.
Things that lead before you, right?
Correct.
So that was something that I think, Melanie, you were also like edging around that we didn't go deeper into. And that's
I want to give a little example. Okay. Mm-hmm. So say you're having a problem with your phone. Mm-hmm. And say you're like me and you have like 75 apps open. Mm-hmm. So what happens if I just close all the apps except the one that I'm focused on? I drop everything else. My phone's going to work better. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing, right? So when you're carrying around, and this is what I tell my kid, because my kid is just autistic and has not done the work yet. I'll just leave it at that, right? It's got a little bit of those Aspie nuclear meltdown tendencies, although he's now 22, so that he's grown out of those. But I always say the cure, because this is how I got over a lot of my triggers, almost all of them, was from this one thing: approaching life with curiosity and assuming the best intentions. So giving up expectations. So I don't go into anything with an expectation. Mm-hmm. We might have goals, but I don't have expectations, because expectations means judgment. And when I literally go into something with judgment, it's already a pejorative. It's already in the negative. I'm already below the line, and I don't do below the line. My neutral is literally happy. That is my neutral. Do you know how hard it is to get me below the line? It's not a good place for people to send me, because I'm very effective getting back up, but that also somebody might have to die.
Thank you, Adrienne, for leaving us on a happy note. I love it.
I'm just saying, own your passion. The boundaries thing is such the important conversation, because I feel like once you let people cross over that line, once you let people push you or poke you or get you to do something that is not your responsibility, and they're not taking responsibility, so then you're taking on their responsibility. Mm-hmm. It's just going to keep going. So stop it.
I think healthy boundaries, as Kai is inviting us to join us, join her here and to celebrate her. And Kai, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much. Yes.
This is such an amazing conversation. And as we close, we are reminded of many things. One of those things is that leadership isn't only measured by what we produce. It also reveals how people feel in our presence, how safe we are to innovate and to create, and also how aligned that we are while we're building something meaningful, right? So the data of devotion, as this panel discussion is titled, isn't always just showing up for quarterly reports. It's something that lives in, as Mel said, trust, as we've said, loyalty, creativity, sustainability. We can learn that intuition is intelligence. Empathy can also be seen as strategy. And also care can be a catalyst for long-lasting success that we're all building here. So I want to thank each of you, Mel, Dr. Nikita, and Adrienne, for your wisdom, your courage to participate in this conversation. And also thank you to you, the one who's watching. Thank you for joining us, and with your openness and curiosity, just for being here and participating as you have, either in the comments or maybe this conversation will continue for you. So may you leave today and inspire others, continue to lead with clarity and compassion, and let's honor the outcomes with abandoning our humanity. Until next time, everyone, feel free to reach out to each of these individuals with these links that are underneath our names. We're here to connect with you. We're human beings too, and we want to connect with you. Until next time, thank you so much for being a part of 100 Women to Watch, and bye for now.